Here are the solutions for day 2. Given this right triangle, find values of the 6 trig functions of angle theta. So right triangle trigonometry is the trigonometry that you would have studied in geometry class. It's the unit circle trigonometry that's the new idea in pre-calculus. So hopefully from geometry you remember the definitions, or certainly we've reviewed them this year. Doesn't matter what you start with, I tend to figure out cosine first. The definition of cosine of an angle when you're doing right triangle trigonometry is the length of the adjacent side divided by the length of the hypotenuse. So adjacent divided by hypotenuse. Here's angle theta down here. There are 2 legs in this triangle. This leg is 3, this leg here is 5. One of those legs is adjacent to angle theta. It actually is part of forming angle theta. The other leg is opposite from angle theta, across the triangle from theta. So the 3 is the one that's adjacent to theta. The 5 is opposite from theta. The hypotenuse is the side of the triangle opposite the 90-degree angle. That's the hypotenuse. So adjacent divided by hypotenuse would be 3 divided by the square root of 34. Now we know that when you have square roots, you don't leave them in the denominator, so we need to rationalize this. Multiply top and bottom by the square root of 34. And this makes 3 square root of 34 all over 34. Now next, I tend to figure out sine. The definition of sine is opposite divided by hypotenuse. Opposite from theta is the 5. The hypotenuse is the square root of 34. Then rationalize. 5 square root of 34 divided by 34. Next, I like to figure out tangent. The tangent of an angle is the ratio created by taking the opposite side and dividing by the adjacent side. So this is 5 divided by 3. Now we figured out the 3 basic trig functions. Let's get the reciprocal functions next. So the reciprocal of cosine is called secant. And its definition is the hypotenuse divided by the adjacent side. It's the square root of 34 over the 3. Now let's do the reciprocal of sine. That's called cosecant. The definition would be the hypotenuse divided by the opposite side. So that's the square root of 34 divided by the 5. Finally, the reciprocal of tangent is called cotangent. And so if you take that definition upside down, it's adjacent divided by opposite. In our problem, that's 3 divided by 5. You always want to check on your reciprocal functions that you've taken your answers for cosine, sine, and tangent, and you have flipped them upside down. And let me remind you just one more time that a good way to remember your 3 basic definitions is with the acronym SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Tangent is opposite over adjacent.